today. I'll just read it in case anyone's just tuning in this morning. Let's see, we covered it at the beginning of the show. We're delighted by Google's success. They've made some great advances in AI, and we continue to supply to Google. Nvidia is a generation ahead of the industry. It's the only platform that runs every AI model and does it everywhere computing is done. Nvidia offers greater performance, versatility, fungibility than ASICs, which are designed for specific AI frameworks or functions. So again, not like these are meant to be confidence inspiring, but they come off they have the opposite effect.
It's really weird. The tweet, like, I guess I sort of understood. Okay, so they sent out that note. Look, as I mentioned, over the last several weeks, for some reason, Wall Street has got really taken in with this whole conversation about GPU depreciation schedules. Maybe I think Michael Burry's been talking about it or something. Okay, fine. Like, this has taken hold. I am sure this is the type of thing where for every 100 people who are talking about this, maybe one knows what they're actually talking about. Like, I have no doubt that there's all kinds of noise out there. And so maybe it makes sense for NVIDIA to like, oh, let's put out some information that we have. Like, I guess it's a little weird, but okay. Like, I sort of get it, given the degree to which this has just become a meme in the last few weeks. The tweet about Google is a little strange. Here's the biggest, most powerful company in the entire world, and they're doing this sort of weird. We're excited to see. We're happy for your success. It's odd.
It reminded me of Jensen's comment on the OpenAI AMD deal, where it was like kind of snarky. He was saying something like, "I'm kind of surprised they're so excited about their new chip. I'm surprised they would give away 10% of their company before they've even developed it." So again, to me, I feel like when you're operating from a position of strength and confidence, you never talk about competitors from official channels. I've given this advice very recently, where like there's a company that every time their competitor does something, they post about it. Guess the
like
revenue
quote tweet too. It's so much easier to just be like the other members of our industry, or like the other big tech companies do it this way, or like other handset makers or other smartphone makers, and everyone knows that you're talking about Google or iPhone or whatever you're comparing to. But you dress it up.
In this case, the company that they always talk about has 100 times their revenue, and so it screams like we're obsessed with our competitor. But in this case, it's like the TPU is just like the first sign of an external purchase
and you
order.
Immediately like pounce on them, and you're like, I've been thinking. I mean, one of the funny things about Jensen and NVIDIA overall is you think about these other mega cap tech companies and these other ultra rich CEOs. They've been dominant in most of these cases for like well over a decade right now. They've been some of the most powerful companies in the entire world for over a decade, obviously. NVIDIA is sort of this weird case because, 4 years ago, people were talking about, oh, this is the company that makes chips for Ethereum mining. Or this is, like, that was how a lot of people talked about NVIDIA. I think even as recently as 2021, people were talking about, oh, NVIDIA's... So it might be
people don't
remember,
before there was the Mag 7, there was FANG. And there was an N in FANG.
And that was...
And
what was
it was Netflix. It was not NVIDIA. It was Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. And then crazy to not include Microsoft, right? And so they added Microsoft and they took out Netflix, and then they added NVIDIA and Tesla, of course. But what a wild ride.
It's a weird, like, what a run. I mean, obviously, like, NVIDIA's been an incredibly successful company, but it went from like a pretty successful chip company to the biggest company in the world in a matter of a few years. Maybe there's something there. Maybe there's still a chip on the shoulder. Maybe there's still some culture of feeling like it's the underdog and something where it's like, it's like act like you've been here.
It's one thing. So
the tenure thing is real.
So here's the thing: if you're a startup and Google enters your market, I've seen a lot of founder or like a big company. If you get Sherlocked by Apple, you're going to hit the timeline and be like, I'm delighted by Apple's new mobile app. we're delighted to continue serving.
They validated the market.
Thank you, Apple, for validating our industry. Right.
Yeah.
But I don't think Nvidia doesn't exactly need validation at this point from a competitor.
And the TPU is a decade old, by the way.
Right. It's been around for a while. Which is another sort of interesting dimension of all of this, which is like suddenly people wake up and it's not like, to your point. I mean, people have been talking about the existence of Google's TPUs for a long time. Obviously, now there's been some question about the degree. What's the strategy here? Would they ever sell them? Will they rent them out? There have been obviously questions, etc. But it is funny how you get these moments where suddenly you get this 180 over the last several months, weeks on Google, the Gemini 3 launch, of course, bolstering this idea, actually they're in a good space. And suddenly, and they also have these TPUs, which they've had and been working on for a long time, but nothing really changed. They've had them for a while. There's not some new breakthrough announcement here or something. And so suddenly NVIDIA feeling like it has to respond, a little strange.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that there's so much demand that it's a little bit ridiculous to just be like, NVIDIA is completely over. But at the same time, it's never great when you go from a monopoly to a duopoly. It's just that it's always nice to be in a less competitive market. And
but at the
this
same
whole
time,
year has been about
if
AMD.
If AI is literally half as transformative as the AI bulls
consensus,
think, it doesn't matter. You can have two players, and the demand is so overwhelming
and NVIDIA's own sales are capped, right, by capacity and by production capacity. There's only so much, which is another sort of interesting dimension that I'm trying to get a better understanding of here, which is that again, it's not like search or AI or chatbots, etc. There are these constraining effects on the markets from how much fab capacity is at TSMC or how many some of this underlying equipment. So the ability of anyone to scale up dramatically and expand the overall size of the market is sort of tough at this point. I don't know exactly what that means, but it feels my guess is, my assumption would be that everyone remains pretty capacity constrained for some time. I don't think there's tons of chips laying out there for the taking right now.
Yeah. Give us an update on Odd Lots. People have been congratulating you on 10 years.
Yeah.
Did the 10-year date happen recently?
The 10-year date did happen. We didn't even. It's funny. I think it was November 6th. I got an email
November 6th.
because we have a party which you both are invited to. We have a party in New York City in December to celebrate our 10 years. So we've been sort of. That's right.
Did you play the night vision sound?
That's right.
Fire me up.
But so we were getting ready for that. We've been doing some sort of 10-year episodes. We're talking to some big names and big picture thinkers and stuff like that. But I didn't realize the actual date until the morning of, and I started getting random emails from people inside the company congratulating us on 10 years. But it's pretty crazy.
Let's hit the gong 10 times.
Yeah,
10 times.
Wow, it's 10 times gone.
There we go.
This has been the highlight. The 10 gong smashes. This has been the highlight so far of our 10-year anniversary.
Who's the most recent 10-year guest that exemplified that bigger picture thinker?
Yeah. Well, we had Ray Dalio on the podcast on Monday, which was a lot of fun. He told us about meditation. He talked to us about the importance of transparent culture, about the importance of letting junior staffers or junior employees at Bridgewater attack the senior employees.
I loved his story about the first stock he ever bought.
I know.
Hilarious. I don't know if he tells that constantly. I haven't listened to every.
He probably does.
It's such a good story. He's just like, I saw it and it was was the cheapest stock he could possibly buy.
It was the cheapest nominal stock. Yeah,
it was like $5 a share.
Yeah,
he's retail. It's a retail army. I mean, it's like in crypto when they're like it's 0.00001 cent a token. Imagine if it's $1, and you'll be like, I have so much money.
Can we talk about that for a second? It's really annoying with some of these crypto prices to have to squint and see how many zeros there are. They need some reverse splits. I really think we need to $1, $2. But no, to your point, right? It's basically I don't want to be insulting, but it's basically like the dumbest.
Yeah.
It's trying to attract the dumbest kind of trader there is. Totally. When you're like, oh, this is cheap because it's 1/1,000,000th of a cent or whatever.
You're still early.
Yeah, I mean,
imagine if this were $1.
I remember the Doge to $1 campaign. Yeah. I remember the Doge to $1.
That was a very powerful meme.
It was very powerful. These things are real.
I thought it was going to get there because I think it got to like 30-something cents. So I was like, oh, it's like it's definitely going to satisfy the meme. It never made. You're like,
I thought it was going to get there because I put my whole paycheck in it.
I really thought it was. I was like, oh, it's obviously going to go to $1.
It did seem like the meme was going to work, but it got close.
It got close.
Fairly close. It was a run. Jordy?
Are you aware of a single person that has sold their primary residence in New York and is going elsewhere since the election? What's been the sentiment? Mm-hmm. I know a bunch of former Odd Lots guests are on the transition team, which is cool because you guys have some insight into like how these people think and the public does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have not heard of anyone who is leaving New York City. It's interesting. I don't know the name of the brokerage, but there is one of the brokers in New York runs these ads, speaking of outdoor ads, in the taxis. Mm-hmm. And prior to the election, they were very scaremongery, and they were like talking about deals in Florida and all this like real estate that you could buy in Florida, et cetera. Anyway, after the election, I saw one of the ads this week, and it was talking about how JP Morgan just opened up its new headquarters in New York City and how many employees they're going to have there. Mm-hmm. So I guess now that the election is over, they can go back to selling New York City real estate because they didn't get I don't think they got those brokers did not get the outcome that they were hoping for. But yeah, we have some past guests in the transition team. Mm-hmm. Paul Williams, shout out to him, who I also play music with in my country music band Light Sweet Crude. He's on the housing transition. Kathy Wild, who is the head of the Partnership for New York City, which is the big organization of a bunch of CEOs, et cetera. That's like the most like sort of like dyed on the wool, like sort of, they're not a lobbyist group, but they represent the business community. Even she is in the transition team. She's also been on the podcast. So it seems like, I've seen a bunch of people angry at some of the picks, happy about some of the other picks. It seems like he has built he's at least with these selections, a little something for everyone, some moderate, some normies, some more radicals, et cetera. Enough for like everyone to be a little happy and a little concerned maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly seemed like that. There was that viral clip of him with Trump that was very funny, where they're kind of going.
Oh, that was crazy. Yeah,
it felt like there was just like, okay, there's a lot of theater on both sides here. They're all having fun. They're not like, I can't even be in the same room as that person.
No.
So
I think that like for those of us not in politics, I don't know. It's like hard for us to imagine how these people who are like the rhetoric, and then they get together and they smile in front of the camera and feels very weird. But they're just like they're professionals.
I mean, NFL teams have rivalries. They shake hands at the end of the game. I think that's kind of the nature of these things, which is fun.
WWE.
WWE. I've always liked the wrestling metaphor.
The thing is that like whether we're talking about the selections of people for the transition or the I think very wise choice by Mamdani to like try to be friendly with the White House or at least find some common ground is look, there's some like pretty hard budget constraints, etc. The job of mayor is a management job. The trains aren't going to run themselves. The buses aren't going to run themselves. The apartments aren't going to get built. So there's a certain amount of like required between the budget constraints and just everything else. I think there is a certain amount of sort of forced pragmatism that's probably at play here.
Yeah, that makes sense. We'll let you go in just a minute.
All right.
What's next on the economic calendar that you're tracking? What should we be looking forward to through the end of the year? Obviously, in our world, we're very excited about Black Friday. Going to be tracking those numbers. Also, an interesting economic indicator. But what's on the top of your mind?
I think actually like basically all data through the end of the year is going to kind of be garbage because obviously we're going to get the restart of the data and we'll get more timely jobs data and so forth. But all of that is going to be affected by the shutdown.
October, we're not getting anything from October.
Yeah,
right?
We're not getting anything from October, and then November is going to be affected in large part from the shutdown. So those numbers aren't going to mean anything anyway. And so probably the next like clean report where we could say, okay, this is actually well collected data to the extent any data is there's all kinds of issues with collection and is not affected by the shutdown. So that's going to come out in January, about December, which is going to be very strange. I think the big development is, I think it's December 10th is the next Fed meeting. As recently as a week ago, it was looking like they were not going to cut. The odds were below 50%. But a number of the FOMC members in the last several days have come out and said they're cool with the cut. So it looks like as of right now, we're going to get a cut. But that is, I think that meeting is the day before we get the November jobs data. So it's all going to be sort of a mess, I would say, until early next year.
Last question. Sure. How should people read into not getting data from the month of October? Should we say that the simplest explanation is employees were furloughed? We don't have time to go back and collect all the information. My impulse is that the simple explanation is the correct one, that due to the timing of the shutdown, the duration of the shutdown, it's unrealistic or something like that, as opposed to something nefarious. If there continue to be more things, then okay, then we see what's up. But I would say this is probably pretty straightforwardly linked to the fact that the government was shut down.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Happy holidays. Hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you soon.
Likewise.
Have a great day.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Let me tell you about Graphite.dev, code review for the age of AI. Graphite helps teams on GitHub ship higher quality software faster. And I'm also going to tell you about Fin.ai, AI that handles your customer support, the #1 AI agent for customer service. Our next guest is Director Michael Kratsios. He is the 13th Director of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, and it is great to have him here with us on the show today.
One of the best call-in setups we've seen.
You look fantastic.
Looking sharp.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. How are you doing?
I am great. Thank you guys so much for having me. I have followed your meteoric rise over the last year. I feel like I should have been on this show much earlier.
We would have loved to have you, but we're very happy to have you today because there's massive news. But I'd love for you to introduce it and actually set up the conversation. So please take us through the announcement, and then I'm sure we'll have a ton of conversation and questions to go through.
Yeah, so I think maybe we can start with the AI action plan that the president signed out in July of last year. And one of the main themes of the AI action plan, essentially to win the AI race, is all about how we can win in scientific discovery. And the question was, how do we do that? What's the next chapter of using AI to drive scientific innovation in our country? And yesterday, the president signed an executive order launching what is known as the Genesis mission. And I think for a lot of folks that you guys talk to every day, this. AI has had this incredible rise over the last couple of years. It ultimately started first with large language models themselves, and those are where we scrape the totality of knowledge on the internet, and we're able to then create these models that can predict all sorts of things, the next word, if you will. Yeah. The next phase of it was all around coding, and you've seen these great startups that are incredible at coding. Some are huge model builders are awesome at coding too. But the big question that still remains is, how do you apply this large language technology to scientific endeavors? How do you use it to be able to create new materials? How do you use it to create new microprocessors? How do you use it and tap it into all of sort of this exquisite scientific technology and hardware that exists all around the world? And what the Genesis mission tries to do is to bring all of the super valuable, important data that the national labs have collected over the last 70 years and put it to use to train large language models to be able to dramatically, and I mean dramatically, accelerate the pace of scientific discovery. So this is, I would argue, and I've said it before and I'll keep saying it, this is going to be the single largest marshaling of the federal resources of scientific discovery since the Apollo program. So we're thrilled to kick it off, and DOE is going to be the home for it.
Talk to me about the relationship between the public sector and the private sector. I feel like a lot of folks in our audience have said, thank you for your service. We loved DARPA. We loved when DARPA created the internet. We loved GPS. We loved the moon mission, but we got it from here. We invented the transformer at Google. We invented SpaceX and the rockets that go up and land. And we think private industry has it handled from here on the research side. We don't need anything from the government. How do you think about, is this just a misconception and we actually need more original new ideas, research in a government setting? Or is there more of a public-private partnership that you think will play out here?
I think it's definitely more of the latter. I mean, the reality is that when some of the initial projects were launched in the 1950s, you think of the Manhattan Project, that was an era where the vast majority of research and development in the United States was paid for and funded by the federal government, to the tune of almost 70 or 80% of it was funded by the federal government. If you zoom ahead sort of the 70 years that we are where we are today, the vast majority is done private sector. You know, generally, the United States spends about $1 trillion a year on R&D, and about 80% of it today is done by the private sector. Now, that being said, there is a critically important role for the government to play in that larger ecosystem. And it truly is an ecosystem. You have to have private sector, academia, and the federal government all working hand in hand to sort of make the very important basic research breakthroughs and ultimately commercialize those. And the secret and the sort of unique special thing about the Genesis mission is the scientific data sets that exist at the national labs. This is a unique asset that is so valuable to the American people and to all of the scientific enterprise in the United States. And the bottleneck, as you guys know so well in so many of these AI endeavors, is how do you get the right data to train these models? And for the early large language models, the data was just out on the internet. You could use Common Crawl and scrape it. For the world of coding, you had lots and lots of coders and lots of material that you could use to train those coding models. But for science, it's not that easy. You have silo data. You have pharmaceutical companies that have pharmaceutical-related data. You may have chemical companies that have chemical-related data. But what's so special about our national lab ecosystem is that it covers such a diverse and broad range of scientific endeavors. You have biologists, you have material scientists, you have chemists, you have people who are working on space, all in the same national lab infrastructure. And that depth of data is so incredibly powerful in order to accelerate scientific opportunity and endeavor. And kind of that's what the Genesis mission is all about. And to your point about private sector involvement, the thing that we have been so excited about is the private sector is clamoring to be part of Genesis mission. We all are in this together. There's a desire to pair the incredible supercomputing infrastructure and the GPU capacity of our greatest chip companies with the great data sets we have at DOE and everything in between.
Yeah. Can you help me understand a little bit more how a lab might actually plug into the Genesis mission? Because we've seen a lot of the labs say, "Oh, we want to start working on science." Some of the labs have already. I mean, Google has a Nobel Prize, right, for AlphaFold. Does that look like them interfacing directly with the DOE or going through a lab, or how does that take shape? Do you think?
So what DOE's ultimately, the Department of Energy is going to be creating is a platform for scientific discovery. And there we're going to be making available the very valuable scientific data sets that can be used to run these large language models for science. And as we've seen, OpenAI had a nice tweet thread about sort of this project and how excited they are about it. We've seen lots of other companies already pursue this. Google, of course, with AlphaFold and the Nobel Prize that they've won there. So what we're seeing is all of these large language model builders or labs themselves want to partner with the Department of Energy so we can work hand in glove to accelerate the scientific discovery. The key is how do we, just zoom out a second and think about it, how do we 2x the ability of us to very quickly iterate on scientific experimentation? So right now, if you have a hypothesis and you want to test it, how do we make that 2 or even 10x faster? How can we make it so that if we have an idea, we can send that idea to an AI-powered cloud lab and the test can be run behind the scenes as we're working on a second project? So that's this sort of like big level thinking that we want to do to dramatically accelerate the velocity and pace of scientific discovery.
Can you help me understand how you think the United States is positioned geopolitically against our near-peer rivals on the issue of AI in science? I'm pretty, I feel like I'm relatively up to speed on just the general capabilities of American image models versus maybe Chinese image models, or DeepSeek versus GPT OSS and the Llama models. I kind of know where we're standing in just the general industry, the industrial uses or the general uses of these LLMs and the AI models that are coming out of America and China. How are you thinking about America's competitiveness on the science and research side?
So we're in a lot earlier innings of that. That's a really good question. And I think what's unique about sort of AI for science is it has to pair this exquisite scientific physical infrastructure with the models themselves. So if you want to drive scientific discovery, you have to be able to pair what's coming off of telescopes, what's coming off of lasers, and all this stuff to be able to match them with large language models, to be able to accelerate that loop. And we're still in the very early innings of it. And in order for us to sort of outpace and continue to keep our lead like we do have in some of these other places, is we have to do something like the Genesis mission. We have to wake up a country and say, like, look, where do we have the most valuable scientific data sets, and how do we make those data sets available to our model builders to be able to create the necessary tools to pair the data coming off these exquisite scientific instruments back into these AI models. And like, think about it. For us, we want to win on fusion, for example. So for fusion, Google's already doing this, but there's a ton of companies around the United States that are very heavily funded, that all have lots and lots of experimentation they want to do with these fusion reactors. The ability for us to be able to accelerate the modeling of that through the Genesis mission, rather than each individual company having to do it on its own, can be really, really dramatic. So back from a pacing standpoint, I think the US has all of these amazing instruments. It has the labs, it has the great private sector together. And what the Genesis mission tries to do is bring that together in a way that's like truly American, where each of us as part of the ecosystem can play the important role that we're best at, with obvious sort of commercial goals in mind down the road. And that's what's sort of driven this great discovery we've had for years. And I think we're going to continue to see that in the years ahead.
What role does academia play as part of this project, in your view?
So I think for us, academia has always played a very important role in pursuing early stage, basic, pre-competitive R&D. As we think of all of the most critical areas of scientific endeavor, whether it be in materials or in chemistry or in mathematics or in physics or science, there is still a critically important role in that early stage discovery science. And academia can play a very important role there. They're the ones that have these theses and these ideas, these hypotheses to solve some of these very early fundamental problems that can ultimately unlock great commercialized solutions in the years ahead. So academia and universities are and do want to be part of the Genesis mission. There's an important role for a lot of these departments, professors, and thought leaders to be part of it, and to introduce their ideas and concepts of things that they want to test. What ultimately Genesis is going to do, it's going to create up to 20 grand challenges on some of the biggest scientific problems we face today. And we're looking for everyone. You can be in academia, you can be in the private sector, you can be in your garage, wherever you are. We want you to come with the best idea on how to solve those and be able to leverage the great infrastructure that the federal government has at its labs to solve those.
How are you thinking about AI risk these days? I feel like we've been on a total roller coaster, from sci-fi paper clipping scenarios to some very real geopolitical competition and issues with people maybe using these models too much, going somewhat crazy. There's been a wild ride that I think everyone's been on, and I'm interested to hear how you think about AI safety these days. Is the nuclear analogy the most important? Is this a Manhattan Project? How do you think about the role that the U.S. government should play in the AI safety discussion?
Yeah, I think as I kind of look back and think about how the early conversations were when some of the big model lab builders came to Capitol Hill and talked about wanting to create kind of an IAEA for AI. I think honestly it set the wrong tone, and I think it set sort of the industry back for a while. And I don't know how much you guys track sort of like global politics of AI policy, but for a good 2 years there, I think that the sort of discussion on the global stage was, what are the worst possible things that AI could possibly do for the world, and let's try to like figure out if we as a collective, world can find some sort of like global solution to solving it. And obviously that's kind of the wrong approach, and everyone's backed away from it. The UK themselves that were kind of touting their big UK Safety Institute have renamed it the Security Institute. We as Trump administration, renamed the AI Safety Institute, our Department of Commerce, as well, and kind of moved in a direction of innovation and adoption versus sort of this nebulous catch-all safety term. But I think, to me, one thing I always think about, and we always have to balance, is, and maybe it's a little personal, but to me, I recently became a father in July. And I think a lot about the way that my child is going to grow up, the way that he is going to interact with this particular technology, the way it's going to impact not only the way that he grows and learns in school, but also the types of job that he's going to have and how he's going to enter the workforce. And I think there are very credible and like real things that the American people are thinking about how this technology can be best used to improve their way of life and ultimately help them live a better and more fulfilled and more rich life. And we at the White House are all about finding ways to encourage adoption of this technology. And in order for that to happen, we have to have the trust of the American people. And trust is kind of part and parcel of everything we're trying to do, whether we're building out, AI for educational reasons or to improve the amount of energy that we have in the United States or solve the biggest health crisis that we may encounter in the future. We want to build that trust. So when these solutions are coming about because of AI, it's embraced. And it's something we worry about and think about a lot. And it's something that a lot of our standards agencies are thinking about. How do you promulgate the right standards so that when these technologies are put into all these different industries, people trust them?
How are you thinking about job displacement at this point? The models are so incredible. They're smarter than me at everything. And yet I haven't actually been able to drop them in as a coworker right next to me.
Every day we try to replace Tyler. We say, Tyler, replace yourself.
Replace yourself.
And he's just too good.
But there's still like an ambient level of anxiety that something's coming. And so I feel like you do need to be prepared. You can't write it off entirely. But I'd be interested to hear about how you're thinking about the goals that you could even set around transitioning people through jobs, how you think about the AI job relationship.
There's a couple of things. The first thing is about AI education. Sure. We have to prepare the future American worker to be able to fully leverage this technology when they enter the workforce. Mm-hmm. The president signed an executive order in April of this year where he prioritized K through 12 AI education. The First Lady has gotten very excited about this endeavor. We're running something called the AI Presidential Challenge, mm-hmm. which is a challenge that we're rolling out across the entire country where we have students from all 50 states participating in it. Yeah. And ultimately is going to culminate in a sort of a competition here at the White House and at the end of the school year where we can show kind of how students are using AI to solve some of the biggest challenges they face in their local community.
It's like the presidential fitness. I used to have to run a mile and touch my toes, and now you have to use AI.
Now you got to program some AI. Exactly.
I love it. That's actually great. That's
the
so
presidential vibe coding
we think
assessment.
It's so. Yeah. But I do think it's important because at the end of the and I think the velocity of change that you see in how education is thinking about AI is so interesting to me. It's kind of like, if you guys even remember like 2 years ago when ChatGPT first came out, every university out there was essentially banning it. You weren't allowed to use it. You were like, violating the honor code if you ever like turned on ChatGPT. Yeah. And now there's no college student in the country that doesn't use it. So I think the pace of change in how these models are being used in education is just so dramatic. Yeah. And we have to get in front of it because, what we think, an 8th grader is going to be doing with AI when they enter the workforce, it'd be very, very hard to predict. So what we try to do mostly in the K through 12 space is not necessarily teach kids how to leverage this technology, but teach them about how the technology works. The term that was used in the executive order was demystify.
This is really important.
Teaching both children and teachers, where does it work well? Where does it not work well? Why is it answering questions like this? Why does it hallucinate? Why does it not hallucinate in these cases? And I think the more people understand the technology they're dealing with, they'll be able to leverage it much, much better no matter where they end up in the world.
Yeah, I absolutely love that because I feel like we talked about this, the GPT psychosis thing. There's a very big difference between understanding that what you are chatting with is a robot, is a bunch of math, and just being mystified by it. And the same thing with, at some point, every parent needs to teach their kids that, hey, the explosion in that movie, they didn't actually blow up the house. They didn't. That's a cartoon. And now you also have to do that with AI-generated images.
Something I noticed. This was a major AI-related announcement. Did not have I searched Command F for $, didn't find it. Is that intentional? Is that like part of your focus of, hey, the government can catalyze the right sort of like progress and activity without just being a capital provider? We've seen so many, announcements from this year that are really just fixated on the biggest number, and this feels like unlocking the sort of potential within the existing ecosystem that's not being properly utilized.
Yeah, for the Genesis mission, I think Congress actually appropriated some money to the Department of Energy this summer in some of the legislation that passed to drive some of these AI-related efforts. And we've used that as kind of the down payment on kicking off this program. I think what you're going to be seeing in the next couple of weeks, which we're really excited about, is commitments from a number of large private sector players on what they are contributing and donating to the Genesis mission. And I think what's key here is that what makes the American innovation ecosystem so unique is the ability for us to bring all pieces of the ecosystem together to drive innovation. You have one part academia, one part private sector, and one part federal government. And the reason why, and the feature about the U.S. innovation system that allows us to be so successful and have been the home for the greatest scientific and technological breakthroughs for the last 200 years is that free market approach to innovation. And I think that's what the Genesis mission brings together and sort of highlights in the best way possible, that we are in this together with all pieces of the ecosystem working together.
There's been a lot of worry about going too far, doing too much AI, too aggressive about the build out, too much debt. There was this back and forth about the backstop. David Sachs, of course, said we're not considering that. But have you thought any more about what the role of the government is in moderating the amount of sort of private sector AI build out, and how that should even interface with the government at all? Like, what is the framework that we should be using?
I think we are very focused on removing federal barriers to folks that want to participate in the AI revolution. Sure. And for us, what we see is that if private markets and if capital markets are allocating dollars in a direction that say, like, look, we believe that we will be needing this level of compute to drive our future AI demands, we want to make sure that the bottleneck to that deployment isn't some federal rule around permitting and allowing these things to be built out. I have faith in the way that the capital markets are allocating dollars right now, and I leave it to those capital allocators to make the best decisions possible for that capital. What we want to make sure is that, like, we are not an inhibitor to innovation, that, some arcane rules about, how and when you can build some certain facility in a particular place are not the reason why the data center we really need isn't built out. Yeah. And that's the role that I think the federal government plays. And one of the 3 executive orders the president signed the day that the action plan was released was all about this. How do we get the federal government out of the way to allow the build out of these as quickly as possible?
Yeah. What about going deeper in the stack? Obviously, there's been news around Intel. There's a very rational reason to understand, to prioritize having American control of the entire AI stack. How has your thinking evolved on just this idea of having a full control over the supply chain in America? Is that something you're spending time on, or you're thinking about, or your thoughts have evolved on?
We are. I mean, it's so critical. Back to the great day in July when we signed all of our executive orders. Yeah. The 3rd executive order was all about exporting the American AI stack. And I think, if we rewind, into Trump 1, when I was the CTO of the United States at that time, one of the challenges that I faced was traveling all around the world and trying to convince governments that they need to rip and replace their Huawei infrastructure. And at that point, I think there was a big lesson learned by me and by a lot of people who served in 45 about, what are lessons learned from that experience? In that moment, the PRC had a technology that was good enough and was priced very reasonably, whether it was for a subsidy or who knows what, but it was priced reasonably enough where everyone wanted it, and it ultimately was deployed for a big technological shift with 5G. Now, if you fast forward to where we are today, this next phase of AI is orders of magnitude more important than the 5G rollout. Right now, governments all around the world in very few short years will all be running some sort of AI stack. They will be having some sort of chips that will be running some sort of large language model, and on top of it, there'll be important, critical national applications. Everything from the way that hospitals are running to the way that tax is collected, and we want to make sure that the U.S. is the partner of choice for that AI stack. And right now, we're at a great spot. We have the very best chips in the world, and we have lots of them. We have the very best models in the world, and we have a competitive ecosystem that it seems like every week they're leapfrogging each other. Yeah. And then on top of that, we have the best applications in the world. So we are so committed to exporting that stack. We want to create something that is so compelling and so exciting for governments and people all around the world that they will want to use our technology. And that's what we are building here at the White House, our partners at the Commerce Department and at the State Department, to get that exported all over the world, from South America to Africa to Asia, to anyone who wants it, because we believe that the same benefits that all Americans are going to realize because of our great technology, we want to share that with the world.
Yeah.
Final question, a little bit of a wild card. I'm curious, are you thinking about humanoids as a category? I've been really concerned that we're going to repeat what happened with DJI, where we allowed a company to basically destroy our domestic industry and flood the country with cheap, very good drones, but cheap drones. And I worry that, I think you can buy a Unitree robot on Walmart.com right now. It's not a concern today, but if we allow the country to be flooded, I would be very concerned about it in the future. And I'm curious if it's on your mind at all.
It is actually. It's funny you say that. We were just actually speaking about this week with a number of my colleagues. I think it is challenging. I mean, there was a large, well-known, top sort of shelf research university that I saw one of their like magazines that they published, and there was and they were like advertising kind of how great they were, and on the front of it was like, 2 Unitree robots. And I was like, come on, guys. Like, honestly, like we can do better as a country. We have been the home for bots dynamics for, over 2 decades. And I think, to me, this is an opportunity where we should think about it in terms of the larger AI stack. And if you start building from chips all the way up, the ultimate manifestation of all this is where a lot of these ultimately robots play out. It's this marrying of the physical infrastructure with the digital itself. And I think we need to do a lot more as a country to be able to propel that industry forward, to make it economical for the adoption to happen. And it goes back to something I talked about a little earlier. It's a lot about trust. And I think there's, if you think about kind of the dynamics oftentimes in the global marketplace, funny enough, the Europeans tend to be a lot more quick adopters or early adopters of a lot of this technology, just because of the issues that they have with some of their workforce. So I think for us, we want to create an environment where we can build these robots into our economic growth plans here in the U.S. and think very critically about the way that we want safe, secure, and trusted technology used by Americans in America. And if we see foreign companies that are not, safe, trusted, and secure and are compromised, there's lots of tools that we have in our arsenal to protect our ecosystem from it. And the U.S. government, for example, banned DJI for use by the federal government, and there's lots of other examples like that.
Yep.
Okay, well, actually, last question. Do you fish? What's the biggest fish you've ever caught? We'd like to ask that to everyone that joins the show.
Oh, man, I thought that was coming. I actually do not fish. So if you guys ever want to take me fishing,
we'll have to go sometime.
Totally I haven't either. So we can go together and figure it out on the fly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come talk to us on your busy day.
Always
Congratulations
welcome.
on the Genesis mission. We're very excited for this. And have a great Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
You guys too. Let's do this again soon.
See ya.
Absolutely.
Goodbye.
Cheers.
Let me tell you about Profound. Get your brand mentioned in ChatGPT. Reach millions of consumers who use AI to discover new products and brands. Let me also tell you about TurboPuffer, serverless vector and full text search, built from first principles on object storage, fast, 10x cheaper, and extremely scalable. Founder mode is right. We have Sebastian from Klarna in the Restream waiting room. We're going to bring him into the TVP and Ultradome. Well, how are you doing?
Great to see you again.
It's been too long.
The last time we hung out, it was just another day at work for you.
Yes.
You just stopped by, nicey. You did your IPO and you jetted back home.
Yes.
But it's great to be back.
Yeah. Kick us off with a review. What's it been like being a public company CEO for a couple months now?
Well, we said to ourselves on the management team, like, we're never going to watch the stock price, never, ever. And then every day I was like, what? Why did it go up? And then somebody like came to us, guys, just like put yourself next to all the other stock. And like, oh yeah, it's moving the same way. Got it. Okay, got it. It wasn't just us.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, big news on Tuesday today. Please break it down for us. What's the news?
No, I think it's, I think it's kind of funny because about a year ago, I was like giving crypto a second chance. And I was always like, I was a little bit on the skeptic side over the years. And partially it's because my LACMUS test is like, how is this going to help my mom? Right. Totally. And as much as I'm getting excited about financial revolution, kill the central banks or whatever. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I'm going to requote. Bring financial liberty to the world. That's the way. And those things. The point is that that doesn't get my mom much excited. She's like, what? Can I just pay cheaper, or can this be faster? She doesn't really care that much about
the noise in the industry was insane. I mean, it was so many just regulatory arbitrage moments, so much just fraud and grift, and also just pumps and dumps and all sorts of just memes and things that weren't outright frauds, but had just total.
But the potential was always there.
There was always a little bit, because and the technology was always there, and it was a little bit real.
And I'm sure I imagine I'd love to understand how your thinking evolved on stablecoins over time.
Yeah.
Because back in 2021,
what happened was some close friends of mine called Sequoia said Sebastian, you really have to take a second look at this. Yeah. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And they introduced me to some amazing founders, among them Bridge, that we now partner with. And so I gave it a second chance, and I listened to the stories, and I realized, so I've been wrong. Technology has now moved ahead. It's now fast. It's now efficient. It actually solves real problems. And then I wrote that on X, and I was like, nobody's going to care, because we're the last fintech in the world. So it's not going to make any news. But it was surprising. I think over 1 million people views on that post, and since then we've been just working hard on how do we integrate this into our stack, and what can we do? And today we announced that we're doing the Klarna stablecoin, which is one of many things which we're doing with Bridge and Tempo, which is together with Stripe and the team over there. So that's really exciting. But obviously, there's more to come. It's just that we're testing the waters and trying out what will work for us.
So walk me through what the first few implementation points look like. If I'm going and I'm paying and I'm on a checkout page, right now I can check out with Klarna. At what point do I actually interact with Klarna coin, the stable coin? When does it actually come into the workflow?
So far the start of this actually is just that we obviously want to bring these services to the benefit of our consumers and in their day-to-day using of Klarna. I mean, we have a big neobank ambition, right? And we have over 100 million users worldwide, but most of them will only use us for a single transaction. Thank you. Sometimes it's a lot of them knows buy now, pay later, but actually over 20% of them are debit, where people pay the full amount as well. Sure. So it's a mix. And now we're trying to offer our service, more advanced services, more neobank services, right? So we have our card. It's pretty cool. We are now 3 million active cardholders. A quarter ago, we had 0 in the US. So exactly, I'm going to drop a lot of numbers. I'm going to get a lot of beeps. So that was so that's been great. But obviously, we want to add peer-to-peer. We want to add the ability to send money and so forth. And then we've been looking at different solutions. But what's interesting, I think, here is that even though that's the natural next step of offering using stablecoin for that, because it's a very efficient way to send money fast and at low cost. We also actually realized that we're processing over $100 billion worth of volume every year, and we move ourselves quite large money between the US and Europe and so forth. And this may actually be very efficient even for our treasury department to use as a way to move money, right? So we've seen that there's a tremendous number of use cases, maybe more than we realized when we started looking into it. That's exciting, and that can drive, anything that obviously drives our efficiency will also allow us to offer services at lower cost and more value to our customers. So
can you break down specifically what's happening at each kind of level of the stack? So you have Bridge, which is, from my understanding, the infrastructure that you're using to actually issue the token. Then you have Tempo, which is the blockchain in which you'll be moving it around on. Is that, and then you have obviously the product layer, which is the interface that consumers will use to move around. Is it USDK? What is the ticker?
I think it's USDK. I think you described it pretty well. I was like, thank you. That's a good summary. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Because I'm just trying to understand. And then you also have there's a corporate treasury use case where you're saying you could use the same token internally as well.
Yeah, I mean, yes, exactly. I think also then people discuss a bit on the merchant side, but the truth is that we mostly today distribute through Stripe and Adyen and the big PSPs. So most of the kind of merchant relationship happens directly with them. So to us, it's mostly what we can do on the consumer side. But I think there's more opportunities. I mean, this is just like, again, people are like, oh, why did you do it this way and not that way? And why didn't you use Solana or Ethereum? And why didn't you, whatever? And what about Bitcoin and so forth? And to me, it's like, yeah, but come on, this was just like one first thing that we now announced. And obviously we are working on more things and we want to utilize these technologies to more use cases. And we have more things, but we are not yet to announce them and talk about them. So more to come.
Fantastic. Last question from my side. Who do you think is, or what, you don't need to say a name of a company, but like what type of player in the financial industry loses out most if stablecoins really take off? It feels like at a certain point we're just shifting take rates around. There's a lot of different transfer services that could benefit a lot from higher speeds and lower fees. Seems like consumers could benefit a lot. But do traditional payment rails suffer? Do governments suffer? Like what category really needs to be
I think
on their back foot right now?
To me, it's really, and I actually talked about this a little bit on our earnings calls as well, is that I actually think, like, to me, I put the whole crypto thing in this wider AI change that's about to happen, right? And if you look about it, both fin and tech have been extremely inefficient market, which is why you've seen the excesses in profits and excesses in, as I quoted there, like, the gourmet cafeterias used to be called culture and now they're going to be called overhead. The point is that, like, there's been this huge excess because there hasn't really been that strong competition. And why has there been lack of competition? It goes back to kind of classical microeconomical theory, which states that if it's hard to compare two products, if too many legal terms that are hard to understand and so forth, then people will be fooled and will take products that are less good for them, right? And AI and new technologies brings a fantastic amount of transparency. You can just compare these insurances, compare these banking products. What is the best one? Compare these credit products. Which one is actually the best one for me, right? So that's going to change. The second thing is the major one, which is very connected to crypto, is switching costs. So the big reason banking isn't more competitive is simply because it's such a hassle to move. Like I want to bring all my stuff from this bank to that bank. And people just don't have that energy, right? Like people don't have that energy and all the accounts and the salary coming in and all that stuff, right? So what's happening is with technologies like crypto, with AI, and the combination of that, what you're going to see switching costs coming down to almost zero, right? It's just going to be much easier to move between different services, and it's just going to put this massive competitive pressure on this industry. I mean, financial services make over $500 billion in profit. That's the profit pool that we're after, and then tech and advertising in tech is another. $500 billion. That's $1 trillion in profit pool. And so what I think is going to happen is you just like, if you are willing to be customer obsessed, efficient, and with efficiency, operational efficiency, crypto plays a role because it can help you be much more efficient. You can move faster at lower cost and so forth. Then the players who take the advantage of these technologies are going to make a massive dent. And the benefit, I believe, and you can call me naive or you can call me, optimist, but like I believe that the value of this is all these excess profits that we see in banking, they're going to come back to consumers. They're just going to make consumers are going to pay less for higher quality services. And some financial institutions will lean in and they will transform themselves and they will be more customer obsessed. There will be less marble offices, less beautiful, buildings and all that stuff. And there will be more of just like waking up every morning, just like a restaurant or any other business for that sake, where you actually wake up every morning and you're like, how do I bring my customers in? How do I make them happy? And how do I run my business so I'm operationally efficient, right? And that's a huge difference. And I think crypto plays a role in that. So I think that's what's coming for fin and tech. And if you're willing to be that customer obsessed and run those operational efficiencies and be smart and use these technologies, there's obviously tons of opportunity of growth and you can build trust with your customer base. But if you're going to sit there and still continue making the kind of profits you are today and think that nothing's going to change, well, eventually you'll wake up, right? Just like, whatever airlines did when low-cost airlines came in. We've seen this over and over again. Or like carriers when the low-cost carrier things came in. Like it's happened before, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come chat with us. We will talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Great to get the update.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Talk
to you
soon.
Cheers.
Before we bring in our next guest, let me tell you about public.com investing for those who take it seriously. They got multi-asset investing, and they're trusted by millions. I'm also going to tell you about numeral.com. Let Numeral worry about sales tax and VAT compliance. Compliance handled so you can focus on growth. We have David from 1Password in the Restream waiting room. Now he's in the TBPN
He's
Ultra
back.
Dome. Welcome to the stream.
Welcome
David.
back.
We have a big update for you. Since you came on the show last time, we onboarded the whole team onto 1Password.
John and I we were using it individually. There were some passwords being stored in the Notes app. We corrected that.
Yes.
I'm glad I was able to shame you into action there. So
that's this is real like customer development, getting your hands dirty, rolling up your sleeves. You go on the podcast with 10 employees and you physically tell them, download my app, and it worked. You can, but anyway,
one customer at a time. Thank you again for your trust, both with your business and your personal life.
We're very happy. It's been a huge upgrade, and I think it's going to sail to being a valued piece of infrastructure in this organization for many years. Awesome. But we're also very excited that you've been on a tear. Your business is doing better than ever. Give us a little update. What's new in your world?
Yeah, so we had a little announcement just to refresh some of the statistics of the business. So a couple weeks ago, so we are over $400 million of ARR. And there you go. Love it.
The spinning hit. Spinning hit.
We've done that. We've grown to that level profitably all the way from inception, which is really cool. Durable growth profile. We continue to be very profitable. We're known as a consumer app for a long time, but now nearly 80% of our business is selling to business customers. 180,000 business customers use the product. 180,001 now because of you guys. So thank you for that.
Yes.
We support over 1.3 billion credentials that are managed in our system. And we have over 1 million developers using the product. So we feel really good about the trajectory that we've been on. We've also, in that announcement, announced that we've added to the team. So we've got new leaders driving the ecosystem and the revenue side of the business, enhanced the tech side as well. We're really just setting ourselves up for the next chapter here. And as we chatted last time when we were together, we just see the opportunity around AI is really something significant for us. And we're going all in. Yeah,
I want to talk about that because it feels like is there a fight coming? Because credential management on the developer tool chain side, the API keys, that's traditionally been a completely separate industry, a completely separate, I don't even know if you guys run into each other at industry conferences. It feels like a very different world. One's a developer tool, one's a consumer tool that you use with your family. Then maybe you wind up using it at work. There's single sign-on. There's all sorts of different ways to manage credentials. How much are they blurring? How quickly is this happening? How are you thinking about setting yourself up for the world where, Sholto from Anthropic was on the show yesterday saying, we're creating a coworker.
Digital coworker.
Sounds like a digital coworker needs some passwords every once in a while. How are they going to get it?
Absolutely. I think, the traditional identity systems that have been siloed and sort of different parts of the pretzel and really hardwired into big enterprises over the years, they're not set up to support this federated dynamic environment where applications spring up and agents need access that are very, very specifically scoped to what they're trying to accomplish. And then they need to be sort of tracked and managed and many times revoked. And so that system of identity and access management really doesn't exist. And we're in a really good position to support that. And we're doing a bunch of things already to help people use AI tools securely. I'll give you a couple examples. So we were a launch partner with Perplexity's Comet browser. And I'm not sure if you've seen that. But then shortly thereafter, OpenAI and ChatGPT Atlas came out. And immediately, both they and we got besieged by a customer saying, I need to be able to use 1Password with Atlas. I'm not going to use this thing unless it. So we got on the phone with them and we started working together with them, and quickly we made 1Password available as a browser extension on Atlas with a little bit of a workaround. And then just today we announced the release of a fully optimized, onboarding experience, optimized for the workflow experience in the Atlas browser as well. And so what we learned is like, look, customers, they want to use these tools, but they want to be able to use them safely and securely, and they want to be able to have trust. So that's what we've always been about, is bringing that trust to the table. And so we'll be wherever our customers need to be. Last time we were talking about the headless browsers around a browser base, but like with Perplexity and Atlas, our customers want to be able to use these tools without having to give their credentials over in raw form. So that's one aspect of it. The other is, what's really interesting is, we're moving from applications being developed by software engineers to being developed by everybody. And it's amazing how much of the agentic applications that are being created are not necessarily by software developers. And so it's great. It's very powerful. The whole organization can figure out ways to leverage it. But again, if you need API keys to be part of the, in the environment that you're building, or SSH keys, you need to be able to actually have those things secured. And so our developer tools, they sync with AWS Secrets Manager at runtime. They allow you to put a pointer to environment file tools that we build, so that your credentials are always encrypted end to end. Fully traceable, fully revocable. And so that's the beginning of what you'll see. And then, where we're going from here, discovery of agents, governance around it. How does it interact with the observability systems? There's a whole greenfield of things there that we're really well positioned to participate in and really help define the standards. So, we're going for it. It's a very exciting time.
How are you thinking about resiliency? Do you have any tips for folks building, mission critical systems these days? It feels like we were fighting an outage with AWS at one point. Cloudflare went down. We don't have nearly the resources that you do, I'm sure. But what tips and strategies have you used? Because I feel like you're definitely going to hear if 1Password goes down. Right.
Yeah, look, we are a Cloudflare customer, right? So our marketing site was down, our service wasn't down.
Sure.
So we were using, obviously, redundancy and failover procedures, and we've got, we come from a security centric approach. That's probably what's differentiated us from a lot of the other players in the space. Like, security is job 1 and job 10, and nothing else matters until we're sure that everything we're doing is at the utmost security. So we've got a lot of resilience built into the way we do it. But I think just generally, people need to be aware. Like, the threat profile is so much more hostile than it's ever been, and it's going to get a lot worse. I'm sure you did a bunch of work on the disclosure that Anthropic put out around that. And it's not just, Anthropic, as you know, they have like nation state level security, enforcement. They have like bunkers and all kinds of stuff that they got to worry about, right? Because they're hugely a big target. But it's not just the biggest guys anymore. It's really anybody can be a target, because you can do really sophisticated social engineering at scale with almost no effort at this point. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So the number one thing that people, will expose is weak credentials. Right, it's another really good spot for us. Like, the credential hygiene is more important than ever. So whether it's you're using Atlas and you're a 1Password customer, great, make sure it's connected. If you're not a 1Password customer, you should go get it if you want to use Atlas, right? And if you're a developer and you're building an application and you're hard coding credentials or SSH keys, et cetera, into files, don't do it. Get a 1Password license, super easy to use, keeps you secure, keep everything ever locked up, and maybe we'll get another new customer out of this.
I love it.
What's your timeline to a point in time where the average American on, let's say, a weekly basis will be sending an agent out to do something for them, and the agent needing to actually utilize the, actual login infrastructure of the user? I'm talking about imagining the workflow where my agent's doing something and I get maybe a 1Password push notification or I don't know exactly how the workflow would work, but saying, hey, I want to do this. Do you approve it or not? And then I hit yes, basically authorize the agent.
So that's exactly what's happening with browser-based, for example, right? And the headless browsers that we're doing, exactly. It's low friction, user verification, so that allows you to keep things secured. Look, we're seeing tremendous uptick on Atlas was enlightening to see how many people are actually trying to sort of utilize the browser and have it do things on its behalf. Certainly the other partnerships we've had, we're so early days on it. But I think when we're going to hit this inflection point where people realize, I mean, I'm starting to see how valuable in both my professional and personal life the tools can be, and just shortening my day. And obviously, I want to make sure I'm doing it securely. I think most people are going to be in that mode before we know it. And so we just want to make sure we're available for our customers when those moments come, so that they can do so securely.
Last question. What's the biggest fish you've ever caught?
Well, I'm more of a fly. I enjoy fly fishing more than I do like deep sea fishing. Getting sick on a big boat and hauling in a big
deep sea
marlin.
fishing is the ultimate hack if you just want to catch the biggest fish, right? It's not.
You just go on a boat and somebody else catches it, and you reel it in. My son prefers fly fishing, so I do follow him. He likes to catch a big bass.
Then where's the best fly fishing spot?
I'm sure that's hotly debated.
Utah. You like Utah?
Utah and Montana. Utah fish are a little smaller, Montana a little bit bigger, but two really good spots, and just give it
we're going to become. We're never going to leave this building, but we're going to become fishing experts. We're never actually going to
just through our guests,
but just through asking every guest a little bit more about.
Eventually, this will just be a fishing show.
I like it.
Get yourself a guide. Go on a fly fishing trip. Take a weekend. Go to Montana. You'll love it.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
All right,
happy Thanksgiving,
David.
We'll talk to you soon. Let me tell you about Vanta. Automate compliance and security. Vanta is the leading AI trust management platform.
One thing that's cool, back in 2019, 1Password raised from Excel. And when they announced it, they said Excel will be investing $200 million for a minority stake in 1Password. And you don't see that like positioning a lot. But I mean, it was a very minority stake. Obviously, they put in about 200, I think, was it 200 on 1 or 2 billion? But anyways, absolute beast of a businst.
Well, up next we have Keller from Zipline. We're very excited to talk to him. There's some big news.
The eagle himself.
Yeah, get that ready. First, I'm going to tell you about Figma. Think bigger, build faster. Figma helps design and development teams build great products together. And there's someone who built a great product with lots of talented individuals. Keller from Zipline. We'll bring him in as soon as he's ready.
I don't think he's ready yet.
But
we can go over.
We can go to the timeline.
Yeah, we have a post here. Somehow, no, I'm going to jump.
Where are you going? Okay.
Somehow, David Yulovich, former guest of the show, said, turns out huge swaths of the BS on this platform that claims to be from the U.S. is all foreign. And then this Shaquille quoted, and somehow the A16Z account is based in Canada. I really don't.
It's very funny.
I really don't know how this is actually possible. I want to see if it's been updated.
I did check all of her accounts, and I think we've been marked safe. I haven't checked actually most of the team. Tyler, I don't know. Maybe just secretly.
I just know so many. I have so many friends at Andreessen. I don't know how.
Why does Tyler's?
I don't know. None of them are Canadian.
Why does Tyler's account say it's based in North Korea? I don't understand that.
I know.
Have you been to Pyongyang recently? Is that where you're going over the holidays? Yeah, you said you were leaving. This is misinfo.
He goes, I have a dentist appointment. I can't come in tomorrow.
I can't come in.
Back to Pyongyang for a little touch base.
Yes. What happened with this Meta whistleblower situation?
Adam Dell says, "I'd love to see TVP discuss the Meta whistleblower story
right now. I do want to come back to this, but we have our guest here, so we will bring in Keller from Zipline. Welcome to the show.
Whoa, from the floor.
Fantastic setup. How are you doing?
Best comms team in the game.
Good to see you.
How are you guys?
We're fantastic. You look great. Give us some updates. Give us this, what is the latest news in your world? Very excited for everything that we've been seeing on the timeline. I want to go into all the jokes about what happens if you shoot one of these down. But first, let's get the serious update. Let's get the serious questions out of the way.
I mean, yeah, there's a ton going on. The thing we announced today is that Zipline just signed a $150 million contract with the U.S. State Department. To triple the size of our life-saving autonomous delivery network across Africa. We're going to go from serving about 5,000 hospitals and health facilities to over 15,000. We'll add about 130 million people to the network who don't have access today.
Fantastic.
And the last cool thing about that is that 150 million comes with up to $400 million of co-financing commitments from the African governments themselves.
Okay.
So, this is not
just straight on the taxpayer. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. This is actually like encouraging investment in this kind of infrastructure.
Yeah. So was this delayed because of the USAID pullback? There's been a lot of like back and forth on how much the U.S. would be investing internationally, what would be happening. Has the dust kind of settled there, and there's now time to actually go do a partnership like you just did? What's the kind of state of the union?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, earlier this year, that was like the first phase of a big shift in terms of how the U.S. is interacting with developing economies. And I think this new vision that's now being talked about by the State Department of commercial diplomacy, the whole idea is let's not treat these countries as charity cases. Let's actually treat them as allies and trade partners. And the good news is these countries have been saying for a decade that they want trade, not aid. They're sick of low quality services provided for free by NGOs. What they want instead is high-paying jobs, entrepreneurship, technology. And the thing is, like, that's what the U.S. has to offer. Like we can deploy AI and robotics infrastructure into these countries in a way that will save lives and kind of turbocharge their economies.
So, $150 million from the U.S. State Department, matched with $400 million from the partners internationally, 10,000 health facilities. How many actual drones is that? How are you actually thinking about scaling what does this allow you to do? Are you going to be staffing up, hiring tons of people? Is it just build another factory? Is it a dedicated factory? Like, walk me through how you plan to actually use this money over however long you're planning to work on this particular growth initiative.
Yeah, I mean, look, in a way, this is coming at the worst possible time because, as you guys know, the U.S. business is growing really, really fast.
Yeah, so we see it
we're
all
in the middle of,
I'm
here on the manufacturing floor.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see like Dock Electronics happening over here, Zip Platform 2, Zip Manufacturing. And then if we were to go straight behind the camera right now, we're just opening up a new 100,000 square feet of manufacturing facility that'll produce both the Platform 2 technology as well as accelerate manufacturing for this specific contract.
Yep.
We're in total, this manufacturing facility is capable of building about 20,000 autonomous aircraft a year, and it's all happening in South San Francisco. So this is the cool part of this compact, which is that this is not just a big deal for all these African countries that are now leading the world in terms of deploying autonomous infrastructure to save lives. It's also really good for the US because we are sort of securing US technology and manufacturing leadership for the decade to come. This is creating high-paying jobs in the US, and it's accelerating all of our manufacturing efforts here.
Okay. Let's shift to what's actually going on here. We've seen the initial partnerships that have rolled out. What have you learned most recently about, or what has surprised you about the actual application of the technology, the adoption? Like, where are the underrated use cases beyond the meme that I'm sure will follow you forever, which is the private jet for your burrito? So get ready for that one to be around forever. I mean, we just had Sebastian from Klarna on, and his entire business, which serves all sorts of different customer bases, has collapsed to buy now, pay later for your burrito because they did a partnership with Chipotle.
Burritos are powerful. I think it's actually a bullish indicator if your business is getting burrito memed.
It is. But yes, where do you see the shape of the U.S. business going? Where are the exciting developments these days?
I mean, look, on Saturday, Zipline hit an all-time new record number of deliveries across the U.S. Then on Sunday, we blew that record out of the water by 10 or 15%. So, it's like every day is basically a new record at this point as a company. I would say the most interesting things are, it feels as though we accidentally stuck a pipe into the Pacific Ocean. Like, demand is so vastly outstripping our ability to build capacity for this kind of service. And keep in mind, I mean, right now, we deliver products in 2 to 3 minutes. So even from when a customer presses a button to have something delivered to their front yard or backyard or front doorstep is typically around 15, 16 minutes. And so it is very magically fast. That results in customers changing their ordering behavior. A lot of our customers say they'll grocery shop once a week and then they'll order from Zipline 3 to 4 times a week. So people are using Zipline more than the average Amazon Prime subscriber uses Amazon Prime. And not only that, but one of the big changes just since I was last on with you guys is that a lot of these restaurants are really accelerating. We're now doing 15 to 25% of deliveries from these restaurants that we've integrated with. So we are similar size on a per delivery basis to the big delivery platforms. And so I think, maybe people still think, oh, the technology is like sci-fi, it's like years away. And it's funny sitting here thinking like, wow, I mean, this is like completely normal in the neighborhoods that we're serving.
Talk about the actual experience of getting, let's say, items from a restaurant. We had David Chang on. He was excited about drone delivery and the technology.
I tweeted at you guys, and we're gonna try to deliver for him in Dallas.
Yeah, and specifically, he was saying he didn't think it would solve the like delivering something hot. From my point of view, if I'm used to getting something in 20, 25 minutes. And then you deliver it in 3 minutes, like that feels like it will be a material improvement. So I didn't quite understand what his point was, but what's the actual experience been like for people, and what's kind of the average speed up in terms of delivery times that you're seeing?
I didn't really understand what David was saying either, but look, like our comms team hates when I talk about this, but like one of the first food deliveries we did, the customer badly burned their tongue on the food.
Okay, yeah, I can see why they don't like this.
And I heard
that's the restaurant's fault. They serve food at a dangerous temperature.
Yeah, it's kind of a bad.
And I was like, actually, we should make this like a core part of the marketing. Like that is crazy that customers are so not used. They're so used to getting like fries. They're 45 minutes old and like ice cold and soggy and gross, and food that tastes bad, and milkshakes that are melted. And we just put up with this shit, man. Like we're completely used to it. And so, I really think this is gonna, in the same way that maybe David's expectations are gonna get kind of reversed. Like it's totally happening with all the customers. When you can get something delivered and there's only 2 or 3 minutes from when the thing comes out of the oven to when it is delivered to your front doorstep, that is a way different customer experience. I think actually people are underestimating the difference in the quality of that experience. Like food tastes really good. It's almost like you're having an in-restaurant experience at home.
I wonder, so I remember when the delivery boom happened and all of a sudden people were ordering way more food, and it was really like a TAM expander. There were obviously ways to get delivery. You could order a pizza 30 years ago on the phone, they would deliver it. But when it became an app and the market expanded so dramatically and people were starting to, DoorDash and Uber Eats like every night, lots of people did this, the market grew and it actually changed the nature of our food. And we got ghost kitchens and we got these funny knockoffs. Like there's, in LA, there's Sugarfish. And then I saw one that was like Sweet Fish. It's like they will deliberately try and change the names as close as possible. And you get these like kind of restaurants that only exist because of the new technology. And I'm wondering what you think of the impact, if there will be a change in the nature of the food or the nature of the restaurants just because the delivery time goes down, or because of the shape of the box. Like if you can't do a massive 6-foot pizza, maybe, some smaller products like emerge as like the dominant form factor, and the restaurants that conform first.
6-foot pizza, John?
I don't know. The size of this table. I don't know. The kids' birthdays. You see those?
Yeah,
the big
they're
pizza?
pretty big.
It's not 6 feet. It's not 6 feet, but you get my point. Will there be restaurants that are like, okay, we're going all in on Zipline. We're thinking about developing meals from first principles that fit for the best possible experience on the Zipline platform, and then that becomes like a new thing that actually changes our culinary experience?
I mean, I'm not an expert, but I have a bunch of like hypotheses, and I would say a couple things. Like first of all, I actually think we have to do a ton of design of the food now to make it work for a system that like is going to deliver the food 45 minutes later and ice cold, and also there's a lot of innovation that has to go into the packaging, because I don't know if you're familiar, but like 60% of food delivery drivers report eating some of the food that they delivered in the last 30 days. So we're like doing all the tamper-proof packaging. Yeah, sorry.
60% over like hopefully over the month, not 60% of every time.
Over a month, not 60% every time.
Okay,
60% over a month.
They're like, but only when it's really good. Only when it's really good. Only when it's at my top 5 favorite restaurants.
One fry, one piece of sushi.
Yeah, sorry if I'm ruining it for anybody, but like, so we have to innovate on like tamper-proof packaging. We have to figure out like safety, and we have to figure out reliability, labels. And like, some percentage of things just get picked up and then never delivered, and a lot of things actually, like, the driver will accept the order but then actually just never show up at the restaurant. Then they have to throw out the food, remake it again. So, I think there's a ton of inefficiency and cost in the system that people just don't think about, but you do end up paying for in fees, and all the crazy fees that get added on top plus tip. I think another big thing that's going to change is that this technology is designed to be able to fly out to 10-mile radius, and typically it's not cost effective to deliver something with a car more than like 3 or 4 miles. And so that means, it differs by metro and where we're talking about, but like, that means that these kinds of systems, for any given restaurant, you're going to enable about 10 times as many customers to receive instant delivery from that location. That's a big deal, and it's a bigger deal actually for like mom and pop restaurants or kind of local heroes versus a really big chain like Chipotle that actually has a ton of stores. And so I think, especially when you think about a place like LA, for example, where you have a lot of these different parts of the city that are hard to reach, traffic is terrible, it can take an hour plus to get delivery of food. This technology is going to be like transformational, and you can deliver a lot of like the best, most beloved kind of local hero brands and make it universally accessible. By the way, on the universally accessible front, some of the cities we're serving in Dallas right now, I mean, just one city that I was looking at the statistics for yesterday, 46% of homes are ordering from Zipline.
Whoa.
In that city. What? And so I think people don't appreciate, exactly. I thought it was like a math error when I looked. People talk about startups getting like 2% market share, 5% market share. It's like Zipline, in a few weeks, Zipline will literally have the majority of homes in our service area ordering from the service. And that is like, that's not a joke.
How are you, so clearly it's working. Clearly customers like it. There's an insane amount of demand. How are you pushing the team to move faster? Because at the same time, I know you want to, be practical about the rollout and not get over your skis. But at the same time, I mean, people in our chat are anybody that sort of knows that exists, they start to become angry that they don't have it in their area. And I'm sure there's people sending you messages all day long asking you, when are you going to be here? When are you going to be here?
So we're going to be announcing something very shortly. We just started talking about it internally, but we'll be announcing the next 2 metros that we're launching in Q1 and Q2. So look for that in the next week or two. We're then going to start accelerating and adding multiple metros a quarter, starting in the second half of next year. So we are trying to move super, super fast. Hardware companies are hard in that you have to scale all these different parts of the business simultaneously. It's in the name. And also it's like, you got to make really sure that you don't accidentally bankrupt the company. And actually, the faster you're growing, the easier it is to bankrupt the company. Totally. Because these numbers, when you're building 20,000 autonomous aircraft a year, the numbers actually start to get really big. You got to make sure that like the hardware is validated and like you have sites that the hardware can go to and begin operating. You got to make sure that aircraft utilization is high. You have to make there's a lot that has to move in tandem in order for the business to work. So, I mean, to put it into perspective, right now, flight volumes have been growing about 15% week over week for the last 30 weeks straight. We are now planning for next year. Yeah, we're planning for next year, and we actually just reforecasted the entire business, and we are planning to actually double our growth rate next year relative to what we were planning just at the beginning of this quarter. And I don't know how much I can, we are definitely anticipating like exponential growth.
I feel like you've given us enough to do a whole DCF at this point. It's fantastic. Yeah, exactly. Just send it straight to Wall Street. I appreciate it. This is fantastic.
So exciting.
Congratulations again. It's always a great time.
You guys got to come to Dallas, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's probably at a point now, when I was in Dallas last week, like we were just hanging out at all these different, in these different neighborhoods that are using Zipline. And there were neighborhoods where I saw more zips than I saw cars.
Wow.
And so it's funny how the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed. I think there are, certain parts of the US, people are like, oh yeah, it's sci-fi, like it's totally goofy. And then there's like some metros where people are like, oh yeah, I use it like 3 to 4 times a day. And by the way, these are like predominantly moms and grandmas.
There's a lot of AI researchers that say that getting Waymo into DC will significantly update the administration's AGI timelines, because they will just see robots on the street and they will recognize that this is a real thing. And until you actually see it diffused in the world, it's very hard. It's very abstract to just see reports. Oh, Waymo has 1,000 rides or 10,000 rides or 1,000,000 rides. It's like, what does that mean? But when you are walking and it's like, oh, 7 Waymos in a row and they're all driving fine, not crashing into each other, you get it. And
even Tesla FSD. I mean, I was hanging out with my college professor and he had no idea what FSD was or that it was working.
Because we've heard about it for so long, but it's finally here. So yeah, very exciting.
It's here.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll talk to you soon. I'm sure you'll be back soon.
Yeah, you'll be busy delivering turkeys. Hot.
Whole turkeys soon.
Small ones we can do.
Small ones you can do. Okay, great. I love it. Well, congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Great to catch up, KLAR.
Have a good
great
one.
to see you. Cheers.
Before we bring in our next guest, let me tell you about Julius AI, the AI data analyst that works for you. Join millions who use Julius to connect their data, ask questions, and get insights in seconds. And I'm also going to tell you about Privy. Privy makes it easy to build on crypto rails, securely spin up white label wallets, sign transactions, and integrate on-chain infrastructure all through one simple API. We have our next guest in the Restream waiting room, Royce Branning from Clearspace. How are you doing, Royce? Welcome to the show. Good to have you. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing well. Can you kick us off with just a little bit of intro and background on you and the company, and then there's a whole bunch of questions that I'm sure we're going to get into.
Totally excited to dive in. My name is Royce Branning, co-founder and CEO of Clearspace, and we help people reduce their screen time. Our company, our mission is to build the missing intentionality layer of the internet. We think there's a fundamental asymmetry in the war for your attention, and we're equipping the individual autonomous consumer in the market with the ability to steer their focus online and protect their family's attention online.
Okay, what's the perfect amount of screen time? Have you guys run the numbers? Is there an optimal?
Well, Andrew Ross Sorkin asked Peter Thiel this in Sun Valley for his kids. He was like, "You're on the board of Facebook. How much screen time do you let?"
Did he say like 0?
He said 30 minutes a week.
Oh yeah.
30 minutes a week is ambitious. I think that the ideal amount of screen time is probably a little bit less than whatever you're spending right now.
Sure.
We say that a calorie is not a calorie is not a calorie. A minute spent on a screen is not equivalent to another minute spent on a screen.
Sure.
But you want to be increasing the quality of the consumption, and usually overall reduction in quantity ends up meaning an increase in quality.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So how do you actually do it? I mean, there are screen time functionality natively baked into Apple, the iOS. I'm sure Android has it too. Your business is still working, so it's not like you're getting steamrolled. But how do you differentiate? And
do they have? Is there any sort of misalignment to Apple's business with screen time? Because I imagine if they really incentivize people to use their screen less, it's like less apps that I'm subscribing to and less kind of potentially less like they don't have a perfect incentive to make you use your phone less. They sell you the phone once, but they're like, take more pictures, get those iCloud subscriptions up, buy more apps, spend more in that mobile game, etc.
100%. Yeah. We think Apple has every incentive to have a solution here, but maybe not the ideal incentives to have an effective solution to helping people kind of control their screen time and reduce it. We think that it comes down to both visibility and control. So you have like a feedback loop that's helping people identify how much time they're spending on devices and like where that's actually going. I think the current state of screen time right now is basically like, again, to use food, if you only tracked calories that you consumed, not micro and macronutrients. So for the last 2 years coming out of YC, we've been primarily focused on a mobile app that grows people's awareness of how much time they're spending on devices and then allows them to add little bits of cognitive friction into the addictive habit loops that they use on different apps like social media. And that kind of starts to get them rehabilitating an addictive habit. But what we're actually working on now, and we just announced a few weeks ago, are screen time agents that sit at your network layer and can observe network traffic going to all your devices. And this is particularly useful both for individuals and for their families to think about holistically what it means to have the right type of content, the right time of consumption happening across all of their different devices. And that kind of breaks out of just Apple's ecosystem of what they allow us to see.
Yeah, that's interesting. How do you think about the responsibilities of different big tech platforms? We were just pulling up this article in CNBC about this whistleblower claiming that Meta failed to act to protect teens. Do you have a stance on, like, are the big tech platforms being negligent in what they're surfacing to their users, or do you think it's more just like the natural forces of the economic incentives they're trying to sell ads? How have you grappled with the various like dust ups in the big tech world over like what happens on these apps?
Yeah. I tend to think about no one is the boogeyman. I think actors are kind of following the incentives laid out before them. Our mission is really much to meet the opposite side demand. Sure. I mean, I don't know about you guys. Everyone I know hates their relationship with their phone. They hate how much time they spend on their devices. And I think what we're seeing is we think that actually equipping them to articulate that preference in terms of how much they're spending time on these platforms with technology that's sophisticatedly protecting their attention is going to actually push back against how big of an attention economy scenario can actually be downstream from people just rampantly consuming content. Yeah,
that makes sense. So how do you actually like take me through a list of like the walls that you run into? I mean, all the big tech platforms are like famously walled gardens. Somebody in the chat was asking, like, I would love to be able to use YouTube with no shorts, only like long form content. And I actually installed an extension in Safari called Social Focus that allows you to do that if you use the browser. But if you're in the app, there's nothing you can do. It sounds like you're going higher at the network traffic level a little bit. But at the same time, I don't even know, can you at the router level detect if someone's watching a short versus a long form video on YouTube? That feels like that would be obfuscated.
Yeah, that gets a little harder to do, although we're constantly pressing at the edges of like what is possible around that. I mean, we've definitely ran some experiments where you can kind of fingerprint what short form content might look like coming down the wire versus long form content.
Yeah.
And so there is like interesting things that you can start doing there, but really robustly for the mobile app, we can basically just like make sure that you're staying within healthy usage limits and that those aren't sliding out of control, which like when shorts go wrong, what really happens is they like pull you into a longer session than you want to be in.
Sure.
So there's not an easy way to do that, but different platforms have different rules. Like on obviously Chrome, on the MacBook, there's a way higher ability to detect what type of stuff you're watching.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's tricky, especially as all the apps like collapse with AI. You could imagine. I mean, right now, Sora and ChatGPT are separate apps, but in many ways they're like on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Like I want, my son probably spending a bunch of time solving problems in ChatGPT and researching things and like finding facts and using it as a helpful assistant to understand the world, and probably very little time on Sora, just slopping it up. But
what are parents of teenagers actually doing specifically with Clearspace? Like, how are they utilizing it? What are best practices? Our kids are much younger, five and below. So we have probably another at least five to 7 years before this is even a conversation, but I'm curious.
Yeah, some of the cool stuff that we've seen is people inviting their kids into like challenges as families. So setting up like incentive and reward systems. One of our most popular features. Gambling
on screen time, the most American thing.
fight one addiction with the other. We hear a lot of parents like set up family groups where they're doing a challenge like a push up to scroll challenge where everyone in the family, or squat to scroll, you have to earn every single minute you're going to spend on social media that week with a physical exercise that we validate with like a machine learning verified push up or squat. And then whoever's in the lead at the end of the week gets to decide where the family's eating out to dinner on Friday night. I think the most effective solutions we're seeing are kind of these like cultural pushbacks, almost community type stuff, like the practice of Shabbat in like the Jewish community, where it's like 24 hours everyone's putting their phone away, and people love it. It's not this like negative, you can't use your screens. It's like everyone's kind of buying into a new fun thing, and we think Clearspace is the platform that can empower you to do that. like really quickly. You don't have to be a software engineer, know how to hack your router, and know how to program all the phones. You don't have to buy a dumb phone. You can kind of still participate in the latest and greatest technologies while knowing that they're not completely zapping your entire family.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, congratulations on the progress. I know we didn't talk too much about the business, actually, more about the problems that you're solving. But it's a very interesting industry.
Thank you. I'm curious for both of you guys what you're doing about your screen time these days.
Most of the time, I mean, I don't know, because all my screen time is actually really low because I'm live streaming all the time. And do I count this? Like, I'm looking at a screen, I'm looking at you.
The other thing I've always been frustrated with the dedicated... My screen time
is actually way lower than it used to be because I'm live, but that's content and I am the content. And so it's a little bit murkier, but...
The other thing is I was always frustrated with screen time. I'll give Clearspace a spin, but with the core screen time app, it would track like call hours as part of the screen time, right? Which just makes zero sense to me because I'm like oftentimes like not using my screen at all. I'm just talking with somebody. And so anyways, I just always felt like, I don't know. I think I've always been more focused on spending time on, you talked about like all calories are not, created equally, but spending time doing the right things. But the best thing I've found is just putting my phone far away and just staying away from it.
Yeah, last week I spent 8 hours in the Maps app or something, which is like,
dang it.
I did a commute last.
Map maxing.
It was my number one used app last week. I don't know what was going on. I was driving a lot, I guess.
Putting the phone across the room is what we call a classic low-tech solution to a high-tech problem.
Yeah.
We think there's an opportunity to basically deploy super intelligence at the network level at protecting your attention rather than exploiting. Yeah. And that's like, we think that's what people want, and that's what we're bringing to them.
Yeah. I'm gonna really stick it to Apple and just start breaking my phone into pieces when I want to use it less, and then I got it because I'm on the whatever. I get the free replacements, right? So then I just go in the next day, get a new phone, and when I want some less screen time, I just break it into pieces. That's the real low-tech solution. But excited to give Clearspace a spin, and really glad you guys are working on this. Yeah. Very important that we have the smartest people in the world trying to capture as much attention as possible, and it's good to have equally smart people working on humanity's side here. So thank you, and great to meet you.
Awesome. Great to meet you guys.
Cheers.
Talk to you soon. Let me tell you about AdQuick.com. Out-of-home advertising made easy and measurable. Say goodbye to the headaches of out-of-home advertising. Plan, buy, and measure out-of-home with precision. This CNBC story, Meta failed to act to protect teens, second whistleblower testified. This is from 2023. So I don't know why Adam Dell wants us to discuss this. Is there something new here? Because the CNBC story links to a Wall Street Journal article, and I was like, oh, November 2nd, it's a little bit old, but it's November 2nd of 2023. And so I don't know what the news is here. Maybe there's something new. We'll have to dig in. But we can go and take a tour of the latest in Meta's world. The most recent thing that I saw was that they beat the FTC case on the antitrust case that they were fighting. So things seem to be on the up and up. The latest thing from Meta on the is it safe for kids stuff was from Adam Mosseri at Instagram, where he was saying he's going to try and make it PG-13. He was using the MPAA rating system, and I believe that there was some pushback from the MPAA on whether or not they could. I was saying, hey, Meta, you're rich enough. You should buy the entire MPA. I don't even know if you can. It's probably a nonprofit. But I want those ratings in every app, just as a consumer, because everyone understands it. You know what R-rated means. You know what PG-13 means. You know what PG means. I can even tell the difference between G and PG now with the kids because PG, there might be a little bit of a tense moment. It's just emotionally charged. I used to think PG, it's the same stuff, but it's not. And so, quantifying that using every movie as training data, pipelining that in, and then filtering every message that gets sent into Instagram, every post. Hey, how would you rate this machine learning model? AGI God, personal super intelligence. Let's give every Instagram post a rating, and then let the user decide, hey, I don't want to see anything above PG-13. I don't want to see anything R-rated. I don't want to see anything G-rated or PG-rated or anything above that. If you could set your threshold, I think that would be very useful for parents who want parental guidance on the Meta platforms.
Okay. We've had a bunch of guests back to back.
We've also had some ads back to back. GetBezel.com. Shop over 26,500 luxury watches, fully authenticated in-house by Bezel's team of experts.
Okay, we got to talk about the Crémieux, Kian exchange.
Yes.
I thought that Crémieux was pretty fair.
Sure.
I think he could have gone harder.
Yeah.
Kian said he didn't watch Crémieux's interview.
Yeah.
That he was with a patient. I wish that he had.
Yep.
Because it seems like this is one of the most important things on his plate right now is kind of getting beyond this. Yep. And ultimately, we tried to bring up as many of kind of the key concerns as possible. To be honest, it's technical enough that we don't have the same power level in terms of kind of like pushing Kian on some of these issues.
Yeah, totally.
As Crémieux and Sichuan.
Which is why I think like a lot of the debates will be done around the data in blog posts by scientists. But
and Kian's main point that I took away was, sorry, laughing at the chat, but it was like people are angry that we have the best marketing and the best science, and I believe that they have the most effective marketing in terms of capturing attention right now, but I don't have the confidence after that conversation that the marketing should be happening at the scale that it is. Like I just don't. I didn't come away from that super confident that that Kian felt like they've done anything at all that's wrong.
Even if you just narrow it to what there is full agreement in amongst all participants on, which is that there were reviews that were anonymized and then not disclosed to be anonymized. Even if it's just that, like that is enough to, if you're a customer, be like, oh, like I don't trust this anymore. And it's a very, very high trust environment. It's a very trust critical environment. It's not, okay, yeah, I'm buying a phone case and like AI generated the an example of a person holding up the phone case. Like that's not what this is. This is like life. It's bio. It's really important.
People are selecting, impacting
we've
their
talked about
future child's life.
Yeah, we've talked about
and
this.
I think that whatever happens,
it's really important to get it right. Yeah.
It's really important to get it right, and ultimately, people that use the service, if they have an adverse experience, they feel like the service didn't deliver or went wrong, they're going to come back to this.
Yeah. So are there any posts that we need to read?
Sichuan Mala followed up and said the fundamental problem with Kian's deflection is that even if the origin polygenic weights can be independently validated to have the predictive accuracies claimed in their white paper, none of that changes the fact that they completely plagiarized Heracite, falsely claimed that origin is novel and has superior performance, made numerous errors from typos to substantive mistakes in their white paper, have a history of making literally impossible accuracy claims, in some cases inflated 2000x to independent replication. These are not just...
What's up, Tyler?
You can continue. I have another post I want to talk about.
Okay, yeah.
These are not just restricted to claims about technical accuracy. These are claims about ethics and morality. For the vast majority of businesses, maybe you don't really care that much about unethical practices. Typically, that's fine. I mean, maybe Meta does shady stuff sometimes, but I still use Messenger. Maybe my local grocery store manager is a wife beater. Who knows? I still have to buy my groceries somewhere. That's a
this is the example that we keep giving of like, will you go change your tires if you find out that the Bridgestone tire company is spying on, a rival tire company? There are certain things where it's just like if the tires are working, like you're okay with it. A lot of it depends on like, is the criticism directly in line with the company's product, like. If the CEO flubs a line and they miss earnings, the product still delivers what it is. It's like they sell apples and the apples taste great. Like you're fine. But when they're making a claim about the actual product and then it doesn't align, that's where people really start to ask questions. So closing out here, it says, but we are talking about a company that will select your future child. How can anyone trust a company where the CEO's first instinct when confronted with evidence-based criticism is to make false accusation of shady conspiracy theories? And Crémieux follows up and says, if a company engages in malpractice, e.g. plagiarism, providing products they should know are bad to customers, et cetera, is it water under the bridge if they can clean up? That's obviously a reaction to my question was, is there a redemption arc in his mind? Somebody says Volkswagen can answer this question really well. I think that's because Dieselgate is what's going on with, is that in reference to?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Crémieux also says, Kian alleges that he's been working on embryo services for a long time. Again, that doesn't seem surprising. I think this was always the longer term vision of the company. But Crémieux says he hasn't been doing this with genomic prediction, according to their lawsuit, which says in 2025 Nucleus sought to offer IVF products involving embryonic DNA testing. Because Nucleus could not do that work itself, it contracted with GP for GP to use its own embryonic genotyping products to provide test results for patients. Nucleus made overtures about acquiring GP, but soon it became apparent that Nucleus was looking for inroads to misappropriate. Yeah, again, these are just allegations that we can't really validate ourselves. But again, didn't come away from that kind of more confident in anything, really.
Yeah, the type form, a lot of people are saying that the type form is down. Kian was, of course, saying that like he will release the models and that you can go and get the models and the data from the type form. It was down at the moment he said that, but Max Glick, thank you for your service doing that reporting in the chat while we were talking about that exact thing. Max says it's back up now for what it's worth. And so Crémieux says that's good. And I certainly hope, I just feel like the next turn of discussion needs to be, okay, we tested the models, we tested the data, we tested the claims at a higher level of rigor, I guess. Tyler, which post did you want to run to?
It's at the bottom of the timeline.
Yeah.
Sichuan Mala is also accusing Kian of using a Chad filter during
This has happened before. This happened before. So when Kian came on the show, maybe 6 months ago, Growing Daniel accused him of using a Chad filter while on the stream, and went super viral. And I was kind of like, oh, like that's I don't know how to even respond to that. That's a very silly claim. I have no idea if this is real. I can't tell at this point on a Zoom call at this resolution. What do you think? Do you think this is real? Are you guys just cracking up because does everyone think it's real?
I don't think that he used a filter.
I don't think he used a filter.
I don't think he used a filter either.
I think he just grew a beard. And
I think he's just been mewing maybe.
Maybe he's just photogenic.
Yeah, it is possible that he just flexed his jaw muscles and has low body fat. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it would be extremely high risk to run a chin augmentation filter
goes down for a second. I mean,
because you know that's what happens, right? When you're using like the Snapchat filter or like the TikTok filters, like sometimes they pop in and out, and if they pop out, like you're done. Like people are going to be immediately, let's see. Compare the first two images with the X.com profile. I mean, the X.com profile, that picture looks 4 years old. I think on this one, Sichuan, like you might be over your skis. I don't know. We need to prove it. And then people are really going back and forth.
It's got to get the Nucleus test for the GigaChad test and
mewing
publicize the results.
Everyone's cracking up in the studio. We're having a wild time. Anyway.
In other news, this is actually insane. Apparently, according to X, I don't know if this is true, but the robbery that took place yesterday, in which an armed thief posed as a delivery driver and robbed somebody for $11 million of Ethereum and Bitcoin was Lockheed Groom that was targeted.
Whoa, what?
Which I had...
No way.
I didn't realize that it was him, but absolutely terrible and traumatic. And yeah, when self-custody goes wrong. But I'm glad he's okay and safe.
Wow. An armed thief posing as a delivery guy finessed his way into the $4.4 million Mission District home shared by investor Lockheed Groom. Yes, Sam Altman's ex-boyfriend and another tech investor named Joshua.
Oh, okay, so it was not Lockheed, but Joshua?
Gary Tan posted the footage, panicked enough to delete it minutes later. Crypto security experts are now saying what everyone thinks. Self-custody is great until someone shows up your door with a fake UPS label and a Glock. San Francisco's tech leader about to hard pivot into vault custody, private security, zero public flexing because this heist wasn't random. It was a warning shot.
Very ChatGPT written.
Mario Nawfal.
But anyways, very sad.
Yeah.
But glad Joshua is okay. I was confused for a second.
That is terrible.
Anyways, thank you for tuning in today, folks.
Before we head out, I got to tell you about 8sleep.com. Exceptional sleep without exception. Fall asleep faster, sleep deeper, and wake up energized. And I'm also going to tell you about wander.com. Book a wander with inspiring views, hotel-grade amenities, dreamy beds, top-tier cleaning, and 24/7 concierge service. It's a vacation home, but better, folks. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the show. Thanks for dealing with our stream issues up and down. We sorted it out. The full clips are posted. The full interviews will be posted. Obviously, RSS feed, YouTube, and the full Kian interview has made its way to the timeline. Obviously, there's a lot of debate. We will continue covering it, but not tomorrow because we're off, and not Thursday because it's Thanksgiving. We will be back on Friday for Black Friday. We have a fantastic lineup of a bunch of different entrepreneurs, e-commerce founders, brand builders.
Some of the most savage
operators,
e-commerce operators
It'll be a lot of
in
fun.
the world. Cannot wait.
It's going to be a great time.
A lot of friends.
So
have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We are thankful for each and every one of you. Thank you for being a part of this, and we'll see you Friday.
Goodbye.
Cheers.